my name is Ryan, and this is Roles in the Family. Normally I'd be here with my younger brother Daniel, but today we're going to be talking about a topic that I actually have way more first-hand experience with, which is playing board games with a 2-year-old. I currently have 2 sons, one that's almost 3 years old, and one that is 8 months, and my eldest and I have played a lot of board games in the past about year and a half. And I'd love to share some of my recommendations of what I believe are the best board games that you could use to introduce your child to board gaming. Now, the title of this video is targeting 2-year-olds. Children are all different, and it's a little bit flexible, right? Whether you might be able to introduce some of these a little earlier, or you might have a 3 to 4-year-old that hasn't been exposed to games much yet, or maybe struggles a little bit more, that these might be great options for introducing them. So just keeping that in mind, that there's definitely some flex here, but these are really kind of first board games for children. And at this demographic, when you're introducing kids to board games for the first time, the goal of the games we're looking for here is not interesting, meaningful decisions. Eventually, that becomes a very kind of important aspect that we look for in games, especially for older kids. But here, it's just building the foundation, the very basics for playing board games and introducing that concept to your child. But without further ado, let's jump into the 6 games that I most recommend for introducing your child into board gaming. And if you were to ask me what is the first board game I should buy to play with my 2-year-old, I would have to say Go Away Monster. In this game, you're going to have boards that show a child's bedroom that have different spaces for kind of a bed or a toy box or some different things, a lamp. And then you have a bag that has cardboard pieces for all of those objects inside of it. And on your turn, you're going to reach in the bag and you're going to pull one out, and then you're going to place that wherever it goes. So I might pull out a bed and I get to add that into my room on the bed. However, the bag also has monsters in it, and if I pull out a monster, I instead need to say, "Go away, monster," and throw it back in the box, and then that's the end of my turn. And that's really the whole game. You go around taking turns until you have filled up your rooms. Now, you could play this competitively, where it's a race to the first person to fill the room. We never did that. We literally would just set out all 4 of the boards and we would work together to fill all of them. And once every board was filled, yay, we finished. And in that regard, it really is more of an activity than a game. But I think it's also why it works so well as the first one to introduce to your child. Because you have to remember, your child has no, previous experience to draw on here. All these concepts are new. So for example, the fact that we're pulling out this toy, and yes, from their perspective, it's just another toy, but this toy, there's structure to. We use this toy in a certain way. We don't just do anything. That's a completely new concept to them. As is the concept of taking turns. The fact that it's now daddy's turn, and no, it's my turn to reach in the bag. Once it's your turn, then you're going to get to reach from the bag. That's a completely new concept. So those are the types of things that introducing this game, you're really trying to help the child understand and get exposure to. And I think Go Away Monster is really the best option for doing that as kind of the first game. Now, you as the parent are probably going to go insane if this is your only game option and you're pulling it out frequently, because it is really just this it's fun. I'll admit, it's fun to watch your child, interact with this new system and learn and do that. But, play Go Away Monster 30 times and you're starting to feel like, okay, I need something else. Unfortunately, there's some other very good options as well. And the one I would recommend next is First Orchard. This is a game from Haba, which is a German toy and game company that targets a lot of kids stuff, and they'll appear multiple times on this list because they're one of the few publishers that really does target this youngest demographic of kids, and they have some good options in that niche. And First Orchard is probably the one I recommend the most. And in this game, there's going to be 4 trees that are loaded up with these chunky wood fruit pieces, and then there's a little path that has a raven that starts at the beginning of it. And on your turn, you're going to roll a die. Depending on what color you get to take that fruit and you get to put it in our team's basket. If you roll a basket, it's a wild. You can take whatever fruit you want. But if you roll a raven, then the raven is going to advance one space on the track, getting one space closer to eating our fruit. And that highlights the fact that this is a cooperative game. We are working together to collect all of our fruit before the raven gets there. And the big things that I think that this introduces is one, rolling a die, right? That's a very foundational thing in board gaming moving forward, but it's completely new to them at this point. So the fact that you roll this on the table and then we look at the top of it to see what is the thing that we're going to do next. This is a great way to introduce that. The other thing that this introduces, at least over how we played Go Away Monster, is really the concept of winning and losing. Like, we are either going to get all the fruit first and win the game, or the raven is going to get there and we are going to lose the game. And I find this is a very good way to teach that concept for the first time because it's in a cooperative setting. It's much easier to teach kids winning and losing when you're winning and losing together. So when we lose, I can say, oh, well, we didn't win this time, we lost, maybe next time we'll get it. And it's kind of this shared experience. And just helping them to understand that, you know, you don't always win, you do sometimes lose in this game. And so First Orchard has been a great option. I also have to say, from the parents' perspective, it's really nice to have the unpredictability of how the game is going to play out. Go Away Monster was basically on rails for at least how we played it. We are marching towards this inevitable end of getting everything in the rooms. Whereas First Orchard, there's a little bit more drama. There's like, you know, the raven might move a lot at the beginning and like, oh, can we get some before he moves? And yes, it's random. We don't really have control over it. But it certainly is a little bit more interesting, which was a nice, being able to mix that in the games that we bounced between at this youngest age was really nice. So after First Orchard, my next recommendation would be Hungry as a Bear. And this is going to reinforce some concepts from First Orchard. It has some commonalities. It's like also a game from Haba. It's completely cooperative. It also has the concept that you're going to be rolling a die, and based on the die result, you're going to be, you know, selecting something. But in this game, what you're selecting is food from a plate that you are going to put on a spoon and actually feed to the bear. The bear is actually this cardboard piece that sits in the box that has a hole for the mouth. So you're feeding it and trying to get it into the bear's mouth and not having it fall down the bear's bib in front of it. And so really what it's introducing here is this dexterity element of you actually have to, you know, use some fine motor skills to play well in this game. And so I think it's really nice because it doesn't introduce much. Like, that's really the only really new concept, but it helps reinforce some of those concepts from First Orchard in a new setting, which is really good for kids to just understand when we take out this box, this game to play, this is how these things work. And this other game, it has a similar concept, but it works a little different, is all just very good for them as they're being introduced to more games. And the fine motor skill piece, you know, it's something when we introduced this to our son, like, we were losing every single time because he was always dropping it because this is like a completely new thing and he didn't really have those fine motor skills. But man, is it amazing how quickly they develop them if you work on something like this with him. I mean, you know, we probably, after 15, 20 games, and yes, with these games, these are all short games, so you end up playing them a lot. He was getting to the point where he's getting really good at it, and eventually, I mean, we pretty much always win because he's got like a 95% hit rate in getting the food in there. And so I think it's a great way to be developing that alongside some of these other kind of critical thinkings within a game. So I think Hungry as a Bear is a great option to mix in as well very early on. Now for my next recommendation is to introduce something that none of the games before have done, which is winning or losing competitively. So at this point, if you've kind of gone in this order, they should understand winning and losing from a cooperative perspective. And so that at least isn't completely new. But now we want to say, okay, there are some games where I might win and you might lose. Like, we might be on different teams, which obviously can be a little bit of a challenging thing to teach a child, and they might not be too happy about it sometimes. But it's a very good setting to be able to kind of be teaching some of those concepts. And so the game I'm going to recommend as a first game to kind of bridge that gap is Little Bird Big Hunger, yet another Haba game, but this is actually one of their small box games, so a little cheaper price point. And And it's very simple. There is no skill to be found here. Each player has these bird tiles that are going to kind of go from, you start with an egg and then your bird is going to keep growing to like the bigger version of the bird. And each one is going to tell you which food you need to get to grow to the next one. So I might need a worm and a berry. And then once I get a worm and a berry, I'll get to flip that bird and start on the next tile. And on a player's turn, they're going to roll the die, and it's going to show one of those foods, or potentially two to select between. And everybody at the table is going to get to use that roll. So you're always involved on every player's turn. So we might roll a berry. Anybody that has a berry can grab a little berry token and place it on the berry on their tile, which is also a nice little just learning process of finding the matching token and then taking that and matching it on your board and placing it in the spot. Is just a nice little process that is a little different from some of these other games that they've played. The theme here is also great. For whatever reason, kids like really get into this. Their bird growing bigger, and whenever they see their bird flip, that's very exciting for them. So that it's kind of nice for getting it to the table with them. But really, I think the reason I recommend it here is for that winning or losing, right? Like understanding that someone's going to win. It might be them. It might be you, and helping them to be healthy on either side of that. Learn a healthy relationship with winning, healthy relationship with losing. And so I think this is a good, easy option for kind of introducing that. My second option for kind of competitive winning, losing that I'll recommend is the last hobby game I'm going to recommend on this list, and that is here, Fishy. And this really is a combination of a lot of things we've talked about so far. It's got the competitive winning and losing. It has rolling a die, and the result is what you're going to get to get, because in this game you're rolling and it's telling you which of the fish you need to fish out of the box. So there's all these big chunky fish pieces in the box, and you're going to go in with a fishing rod that has like a magnetic worm on the bottom, and you're going to have to, fish out the fish or seahorse or whatever it is that matched your die roll. And then once you have it out, you're going to see if you don't yet have that color. So if I took out the green fish, if I don't yet have a green in my little puzzle board in front of me, I would get to take a green token and put it in. And so it's got the dexterity element too, kind of similar to Hungry as a Bear. And so this is just another nice option to mix in because it combines a lot of the different concepts that we've seen so far. The concept of getting these pieces and kind of puzzling them into your personal board is kind of a new concept. I kind of wish they had made them a little easier or more distinct shapes. Like there's some of them that are kind of hard for a 2-year-old to like understand which way do I need to rotate this to fit in. But hey, it's a good thing to work with them on, kind of that spatial reasoning there. And it's a fun theme, the way it works in the box and the fishing out. It's kind of got that novelty factor that kids can kind of get into. So it's another one that we had really good success with. My final recommendation here is kind of my wild card recommendation that is not really a game you might expect on this list. It's not made for 2-year-olds. It's made really for older kids or adults. But I cannot deny that there was probably a 4-month period that this was our 2-year-old's favorite game. We played it almost every single day. And that is Beasts of Balance. And this is a very unique game. I'll do my best to describe this here. At its heart, it is a stacking game where you've got this white, they call it a plinth, platform that you're going to be cooperatively stacking all these pieces on, where the pieces are different, like kind of geometric animal pieces. And there's some other kind of pieces that have different effects. But what's really interesting here is there's an app integration. So I, on my phone, have the Beasts of Balance app that is connected to the plinth, and it's aware of if our tower falls over because there's like the weight sensor in the plinth. And so if it falls over, there's going to be like a volcano that starts going off, and we have 10 seconds or whatever to reassemble our tower before we lose. And it'll know if we reassembled it because it'll tell that the weight was what it was before. It's very clever. But the other really strange piece on top of this is on the app, you essentially have this ecosystem, and every time you add pieces to your tower, those get introduced into the ecosystem or affect the ecosystem. So if I add a bear, the big bear piece onto the plinth, suddenly a bear appears in our environment and we start getting like points based on what animals we have. And I might bring out an eagle, and now I have an eagle in here. But then it gets even weirder because there's these cross pieces, and I can add a cross piece and it'll actually crossbreed the animals. So now we have this fantastical bear eagle hybrid that is in our environment giving us points. And there's some more kind of detail of how the game works, of how they interact and some of what you're trying to do in the ecosystem to get the points. If you're playing with a 2-year-old, who really cares? It's the type of game where you're just getting a high score. Like, it's always going to end with the tower falling and then you got your final score. But I tell you, for as far as games you can play with a 2-year-old, it certainly is more interesting for me as the parent as I'm kind of watching this, or maybe suggesting, hey, what if we do this piece? You know, there's these pieces that, like, you know, it might be green on a half and blue on a half. So if we add that, it's actually going to power up kind of the health/score of all our land animals, because that's the green part of the environment, and all of our water animals, because that's in the blue side. So I might be thinking about these things like, oh, maybe we should do this piece because, or maybe now's a good time to cross. So certainly if you're feeling like some of these other games are boring you to death, this is a great option to spice things up. But man, our son loved it. Like, just loved the pieces and loved, you know, putting it and then looking at the phone and seeing the animal pop up. And it just is a really unique experience. And it's one that works, of all the games on the list, it's really the one that could work across a wide range. Like, if you have a 2 to 3-year-old, but you also have older kids, this would be a great option. Your older kids might not have the same patience you have for a 2-year-old playing suboptimally in the game. But man, it was a hit for us, to the point where we bought some of the expansion animals. It's not a cheap game. We were fortunate to find the base game kind of secondhand. But even with our experiences with it, I would have bought it full price, because it just was such a hit. Such a unique game. And there's some other stacking games that I could have put on this list that we actually have tried. There's some from Haba. But really, this is the one that rose to the top because the pieces are so unique and kind of big and chunky and easy for them to work with. And unlike a lot of the other games on this list, this introduces kind of this spatial reasoning of how do I play things to keep things from falling. It's very funny to watch a 2-year-old, like, you know, trying to place this giant bear on, like, something that it's like, clearly that's all going to fall when you put it there. But it's a new concept to them, and it is amazing how they'll learn some of that. I've gotten to the point where there's times I'll watch my 2-year-old in this game and go, I can't believe you just did that on your turn. We have this crazy structure and you just like realized the right place to put it and like carefully put in this really tricky piece. And you know, why is he so good at it? Well, it's because we've played the game 80 times in the last, 6 months. But man, it's a testament, I think, to a lot of the games on this list, how that repetition can really sharpen some of these skills for kids. And that's it. Those are the top 6 games I would recommend for introducing a really, really young child to board gaming for the first time. If you want to check out any of the games that I talked about, we have links in the description below for all of them. If you enjoyed the video, maybe consider subscribing to the channel. My brother and I put out board game reviews. We do videos of some of our top board gaming plays. I'm sure we'll have more content related to kids board gaming as well. Otherwise, you can check a few of the recommended videos to the side here, and I will see you in the next one.